Sometimes the smallest wins can lead to the biggest victories. Whether you're dreaming of a new car, a new home, or even a new apartment, an excellent credit score can be the golden ticket. But a low score can leave you facing closed doors everywhere you turn. School's First Federal Credit Union is here to tell us how to stack the wins that add up to a very rewarding credit score. Here to tell us more is Tamara Thomas, Fruit Ridge Branch Manager for School's First Federal Credit Union. Hey, Tamara.
Hi, Desiree.
Hey, okay, so credit scores, big deal.
Big deal.
Okay, so let's start kind of just with the basics. What is a credit score and why does it feel like everyone's a little maybe obsessed with this 3-digit number?
Sure, so that's exactly what a credit score is. It's a 3-digit number that kind of signifies your credit worthiness. So it kind of tells creditors how likely you are to be financially responsible and pay your credit. So scores range all the way from 300 to 850, which is, I feel like it has changed. It used to be 750, right? But now we max out at 850, and there's so many different factors that kind of go into how your credit is calculated. You see some on the screen there. The biggest ones to pay attention to is your payment history. That makes up about 35% of your score. Also, how much credit you use, so how much you owe, takes up 30% of your score. The length of your credit history is also really important when calculating the score. I think it's about 15%. And then at 10%, you have any new credit and inquiries, credit mix, things like that.
Yes.
So there's this this algorithm that figures out your score, that those kind of help maintain a good score.
And I mean, with knowing the score and the basics of a credit score, why do our credit scores matter so much in our everyday lives?
Well, like you kind of touched on, we're all obsessed with this number because we need it for a lot of different things. And so when you think about applying for a loan, an auto loan, or a lease, the higher your score, the better interest rate you're going to get. So the less you're going to pay for that credit. There's also things like buying a home or student loans or refinancing maybe debt that you have. Your score is really going to help kind of anticipate what you're going to pay. Some employers do credit checks, you know, to before they employ you. Rental properties do the same, and it's really because your credit score kind of gives a sneak peek at to how responsible you are, how financially responsible you are.
All right, and then so if someone is looking to improve their score right now or just get started, where should they really begin?
So the first thing you want to do is pay attention to that payment history. Make sure you're making all of your payments and paying them on time, even if it's just a minimum payment. You know, we always talk about do more than the minimum payment, but at least make sure you're hitting those payments on time. If you're somebody who has a hard time remembering that, set them up on automatic payments so that you don't miss any of those you know, those important due dates. So I would say that's one of the most important thing. The next is paying attention to how much credit you're actually using. So if you have credit cards, we've talked about this before, keep that utilization under 30% if you can, because that shows that you don't rely on that credit to get by. So that really, those two have the biggest impact. And then remember, don't close out your oldest trade line or your oldest card. That really impacts the length of credit history you have. So I always say, even if you're not using it, just keep it open, unless you're paying some kind of fee to have it, or like an annual fee, something like that. Keep that open because we also want to see a long credit history.
I'm glad you said that because I have one or maybe two where I'm like, I don't use these anymore, so maybe I should just close them. But you make a valid point. It's the length of the history.
It's the length of the history,
keep it around.
So unless you're paying a fee, keep those open.
Okay, good to know. And then for final pep talk, any last minute tips to point us in the right direction when it comes to our credit score?
Sure, so I think we have to remember establishing credit, repairing credit, just credit in general doesn't happen overnight. It's not one of those things you just snap your fingers, you get a card and you're like, hey, I have great credit now. I think of it like fitness, right? It's going to take discipline and routine, and you have to get on a pattern, a habit of making your payments and using it responsibly. So don't get discouraged if you're making, you know, these small little changes to your credit, but you're not seeing it impact your credit score. It will. You just have to be patient and continue on. So you have to get past that dieter's plateau, right?
Yes, exactly. It'll take time, and you'll see the results in the end.
That's right.
Tamara, thank you so much.
Thank you, Desiree.
All right, to our viewers, you can polish up your credit score to keep your finances shining bright. You can visit one of the many School's First Federal Credit Union branch locations as seen on the screen. And as always, you can find out more online by going to schoolsfirstfcu.org.